These are my miscellaneous mods to my Line 6 Spider 3 75 watt amp. I still got the head out from the repair that I did with on the heat sinks. Those are what I've done. That's the final result. These little heat sinks here, 1, 2, 3. I put screws. You couldn't see that in the video. I had, between the video and now, I decided to drill holes and sink them down because I just didn't. I kept thinking they were going to fall off. And then there's the other one right here. And just to give you an idea now, let me see here. Let me see here. I've got the red on the dot right there. I'm 79 degrees. And then I'm doing 77 on the smaller towers, or not really smaller, they just have produce less heat. And then the chip processor is at 75. I was seeing about 128 degrees here, and 100 and something here. And then I was seeing about between 90 and 100 something here too. And then now, of course, you see this significantly lower than what it was. But I've heard a lot of people talking about the cooling abilities of that processor. I just went ahead and decided that, hey, I had one of these sitting in a box. It's a 2-inch ceramic fan that I pulled out of a junked up inverter. I had 2 of them. I was going to put both of them in there, but it just been a little too much for such little work that I needed to be done. And the other thing is I'm a crazy freak about saving stupid stuff like this. This right here is just what I call a wall wart. And this particular one is actually a 9-volt one, which will actually fit the effects pedals and stuff that everybody uses on their stomp pedals, overdrive pedals, whatever. Keep from having to buy 9-volt batteries. The only difference, what I got to do to this, is I have to cut the head off and reverse it 180 degrees because the tip needs to be negative rather than hot for that to work. But back to the fans is what I'm leading up to. Is I saved those things because I've got the wires naked right now because I'm trying to give an illustration. I will seal that up where it won't cause a problem if it happens to come off. But that's a wall charger for a cell phone, 5 volts, and it ties in there. I got it tapped off. I made the mistake of soldering it in before I trimmed the wire, so I just dealt with it rather than having to cut and redo. So I just zip tied it up there, put it in a bunch there, heat shrinked everything. I tied it in to the switch over here on the back. Of course, you can see. No, that's actually a different modification. This mod here, this here. Excuse me, trying to see it. This one here, which actually go to these inputs, which is also affected by this switch. So whenever I cycle the switch off, the fan stops. Yeah, you can see it there. And then when you turn it back on, the fan kicks up and goes. And I give that credit to the heatsink to CoolSkid 1234. This guy's been pretty helpful. He's the one that did all the hard work. I'm just, picking up on the easy stuff and just using my know-how to put it together. And there's one other modification I did just because I had the amp apart. I just, when I thought about it, I said, that'd be kind of cool. But there's a modification that this guy had done right here. I guess Broomer 60 is the output jack modification. And what it does is, if you look at the front right here, you'll see pod style out right here. But when you plug your headphones in, it kills the main speaker, and which it's not really a big deal, but but if you record, or let's say you play somewhere where you need your amp as a monitor and you need a live feed out, then you can put your headphone jack in there, mod it out to either DirectBox, or if there's a way to do a high Z modification, whatever. I haven't gotten that far. I just wanted the ability just in case. But there's a switch that you have to put in, and of course you see on the 150 sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but on the 150 is that he's got like that much more space on the sides, which afforded him the ability to put a switch, convenient switch right here on the side. I didn't have that luxury, so I just decided to put it right here at the back. That seemed to work pretty good, and it's a killer little modification, because that way if I ever need this amp for a little more than what it can do, then it can do such. Some may not like what I did with that, but there's really not a whole lot of choices other than drilling a hole and putting another external plug or something on the outside. I just didn't see it necessary. So what I did is I just soldered the hot wire, negative wire, to that, and then went with it. And you may wonder which side's hot and which side's neutral, and there is a size, but I think on the wall chargers they're impartial to it. If one leg is wider than the other, then the wider leg is going to be the ground. I call the ground, but it's actually a neutral, which shares a relationship similar to ground, but it's just safer. But if you don't know, you can always go to get an outlet, like so, and hold the wall plug up and plug it in there, or at least look at it, because the wire usually dangles down. So if you figure the left side's going to be negative and this side's going to be positive, and if you don't know, you can always flip it over on the back, and it will actually tell you what they are in these little areas right here and right there. Or if you're just wise, you can see silver, which means cool. What I say is cool, and then see they're kind of brass looking color, which I would say it's hot. But when all else fails, if you just read the back, it will actually tell you what color is what, and then you can match it up, and then that way you can solder the right wire onto that wall charger. But other than that, it works pretty good, and the reason why I went with a 5 volts because the 12 volt was just too fast. It had a tendency to make a lot of noise, and if you have situations where you got to leave your amp on stage or whatever, I mean, it gets up and makes noises. For example, like if you're in church or something, and people are a little more quieter than in a bar or whatever, then you can wire it to 12 volt if the noise level isn't an issue with you. But I figured 5 volts, it cut it down. I figured the true output of it's like 6 volts. I didn't measure it because I didn't really care. I was satisfied with the sound and the speed. And it keeps just a slight extra push of air across these right here to give it that little extra. The heat sinks are more than enough. They work. They absolutely work. I did it because I added the fan system because I was bored, didn't have nothing better to do. I had the stuff. I absolutely came out of pocket nothing. So if you were fortunate enough to have this kind of stuff lying around, and you can play with it and cut it, modify it, add stuff, then this is for you. If you want to, you don't have to solder it in like I did. You can always drill a hole through over here and then run the wire through or whatever, and then you can plug it into an external source right next to the power cord if you like. I didn't. I kind of like simplicity when I'm using it. I don't need one more thing I got to do before I set up a gig. But at any rate, hope it's helpful to you. I hope that you may like it. If not, well, I mean, opinions vary, but I just try to be effective in what I do, and even though it may not make sense to some people, it works for me, and it saves my head, whatever, and cools my amp down a little bit better and gives me that much more security. So, at any rate, hope it's helpful to you. Thanks very much for watching.